Osu is a game that's no stranger to weird maps. Whether it's off-screen sliders, impossible patterns, or even mini-games, the Osu editor, when pushed to its limits, can do some pretty incredible things. Most of the time though, maps like these, although cool, don't meet the ranking criteria for pretty obvious reasons. So as an alternative, if enough people enjoy them, then they have the potential to get loved. A system which allows maps that aren't rankable to still have a leaderboard. And it's through this very system that our story begins all the way back in late January of 2018, when the map Dervault first got loved. To put it simply, this map set was absolutely insane, with almost every difficulty having its own unique gimmicks and challenges, some of which are borderline unplayable, with the top difficulty sitting at over 180 stars. Yes, you heard that right. This video won't be about the hardest difficulties though, but rather the easiest, as this map set showcases just how deceptively challenging maps with a low star rating can actually be. But before we get into the story of how this map made me go absolutely insane, let's talk about how it's even possible for a map as low as just 4 stars to be so hard. When playing this map for the first time, it might seem somewhat normal. Things start out fairly slow, and aside from some interesting slider shapes, nothing really stands out. Until slider jump scare. Oh my god, what the hell is that? What the Yeah, so as you can probably tell, the core gimmick of this map is weird sliders, so many in fact that it doesn't even have a single hit circle in it. As you saw, these sliders are awkward, confusing, and fast as hell, which not only makes this map demand a good deal of memorization, but also means the skill required to actually aim them properly is surprisingly high. But if you're still confused as to why the star rating is so low, despite the map seemingly being so hard, well, that's because in Osu, sliders just don't increase star ratings very much. It's a well-known fact in the community that maps which utilize weird sliders are almost always harder than the star rating suggests, and as we've already established, that's pretty much all this map is. Honestly, I think this is the most extreme example of a misleading star rating I've ever seen. Now that you're familiar with Dervault though, I think it's time to get started and tell you the story of how someone who's been playing Osu for over 7 years failed to FC a 4-star map for over a week. Okay, you know what, when I say it like that, it sounds a lot less exciting. So just how do you go about learning something like this? Well, the first thing I did to try and learn the map was play it with halftime, although as you can see, I had no idea what the hell was going on. Even halftime felt too fast at first, so I decided to try and learn the map in the editor. An interesting idea that I thought might work just because it would give me more time to actually look at the sliders I'm playing instead of randomly throwing my mouse across my screen. Another thing I realized was that making some practice difficulties for different parts of the map would be essential. This would let me break it up into sections and allow me to single out specific parts I wanted to practice. I also messed around with my skin for a while and eventually decided to use a skin with a really long cursor trail. To be honest, I have no idea how anyone uses this on normal maps. I'm looking at you, Zoodinator, but I found that having a long cursor trail for this map specifically actually really helped me understand when and why I was missing, even if half the time it still felt completely random. Dude, what? Anyway, now that I had my skin, my practice difficulties, and had studied the map for a while, I was ready to start grinding again. And after a couple hours of dedicated practice, I was able to start doing full runs, and even got some decent scores. This filled me with a false hope that FCing this might not actually take that long, but I'd soon learned that just because I'd memorized all the sliders didn't mean I was able to aim them consistently yet. Which brings me to our next topic, that being the choke points. In my opinion, this is an extremely choke point heavy map, with the vast majority of the difficulty coming from 3 main parts, which I'll go through in order. The first truly hard part of the map is this extremely fast horizontal slider. This was probably the most inconsistent part of the whole map for me, and I ended up missing here an absurd amount of times. The second and hardest part of the map in my opinion is this slider. It's fast, confusing, has weird angles, and is just really hard to aim. Oh yeah, and it's also like right after the horizontal one. Honestly, these few seconds of gameplay are like 70% of the difficulty of the whole map. There is one more hard part though, that being the ending. This is one of the last sliders in the whole map, and realistically the last place you can really miss. It's pretty similar to the last slider in that it's just fast and awkward, but unlike the other two, I felt like I was able to get really consistent at this one eventually, so it's not as big of a deal. Aside from those three parts though, the map isn't really that hard, but due to how choke point heavy it is, actually going for real runs instead of playing from practice difficulties was always really tedious, and in hindsight I can definitely say that the excruciatingly slow intro really starts to get boring when you've played it hundreds of times. I ended up making a lot of progress on the first day though, and with some decent runs I ended my stream feeling naively optimistic for what was to come tomorrow. Oh yeah, side note, this was all streamed on Twitch, and I still stream almost every day, so go follow me if you're interested. Also join my Discord. Also subscribe. Also give me all the money in your bank account. Going into day 2, my main goal was to get more consistent at the 3 hard parts mentioned previously, but primarily the ending. Yesterday, I only hit this slider once in my whole 3-hour long session, which I mean, hey, I'm no mathematician, but those aren't great odds, okay? I started the day by getting some much needed practice in though, and after a while decided to start going for some actual runs and quickly managed to get my first S rank. Yo, S rank? Let's go, dude. Okay. But after some more grinding and an unfortunate miss, about 400 combo in, I got this run. No way. No way. No way, I Fc'd everything except a random circular slider, man. Like, how? I'll be real, missing there was at least in the top 7 saddest moments of my entire life, but to make matters worse, it happened again. Dude, that's the same place I missed. Someone explain how the circle slider is making me miss. I'm hitting the hard one. Although what happened yesterday was really unfortunate, I felt like I was at the point where I could FC it any day now, and it definitely showed. I got a ton of good runs today, but annoyingly just couldn't get past what I'll be referring to from now on as the horizontal slider of doom, because oh my god, this thing is pure evil. I missed here 5 times today, 5 times! I might have just been cursed by an eldritch deity beyond human comprehension, or I'm just bad. But after missing there time and time again, one of my attempts finally broke through. And then I missed on the very next slider. Bro, what? It seemed like today it just wasn't meant to be, and at this point I had also been listening to this goddamn song for over 2 hours straight. Make it stop, man, please, make it stop. Before I called it a day though, I wanted to give things just one last try, and that's when this happened. I really missed on the last slider, bro. That is... wow, I mean, I hate my life. Yeah, that's right. Just like yesterday, I got another run that was only a single slider break away from being an FC. In the end, I wasn't all that upset though, since I knew that if I just kept on playing well, I was bound to FC it in no time. Right, guys? Guys, why is there so much runtime left? Today, I was on a mission to FC this stupid map and get the hell out of here. I'm just gonna be completely honest, man. I did not think this would take me more than a couple days at most, and here I was on day 4, still playing these cursed ass sliders. I had gotten so close the past 2 days that it was obviously doable, and thankfully it seemed like yet again I was playing well and my session was off to a strong start. I got great runs on my practice difficulties, and even had a run where I FC'd literally everything hard in the entire map. Yeah, I kinda wish I did that in a real run. However, when I did start going for attempts similar to the days prior, there was a part of the map that seemed all too determined to stop me. This is the run. Never mind. This damn slider, man. Solely because of this one part, I felt like I just couldn't make any progress, so I decided it was time to figure out what exactly was going on here. I spent a good 30 minutes straight practicing this part, and in doing so finally came up with a more reliable strategy for aiming it. If you don't know, the way sliders work in Osu is that the game only checks whether or not your cursor is still following the slider on every slider tick, those little white dots. This means that you don't actually always have to aim a slider's shape, but rather just the slider ticks themselves. This is a strategy that I had already incorporated when playing the other two hardest sliders in the map, but the reason I hadn't experimented with it for this one yet was simply because until now I just didn't think there was a better way to play it. As it turns out, I had been wrong about that though, and in reality you don't actually have to aim to the left more than once, something I hadn't realized yet. It turns out as long as you just rest your cursor in the middle instead here, then most of the time you'll hit it just fine. This made things a bit easier, and once I had gotten used to my new strategy, I was feeling more confident than ever. That's great, bro. Like, I just can't do it. I can't pass that slider. Yeah, despite two great runs past the horizontal slider of doom, one of which where I missed on literally nothing, I just couldn't close it out, and unfortunately it seemed like even though my new strategy was useful, I would still end up missing there a lot more today. Dude, it's like the 7th time I missed there today. But why? Scientists cannot explain. I hit it every time. Every time I hit it in practice. Every time, bro. Up until now, I think I had been genuinely confident I'd be able to FC it fairly soon, but at this point I'd gotten so used to choking that I wasn't really sure how doable it actually was anymore, and my motivation definitely started to drop as a result, and I think today is a pretty good example of that. Dude, I actually can't. I just can't. I can't! I'm 15 minutes in and I'm already ready to rage quit, bro. Dude, that's the 2nd time I missed on that stupid vertical slider. Like, what are we doing? That's never ever been hard, ever, for anyone in the history of all humans. It's like a 2-star jump, man. No way I missed there twice in a row. There's no way. It shouldn't be possible. I don't get it. Okay, why do I sound like a Minecraft zombie though? Jokes aside, I had missed past the horizontal slider of doom twice in the span of just a few minutes, which was pretty soul-crushing, and in general, I just felt incredibly inconsistent that day. But after some more grinding, I finally got another good run, and that's when this happened. Yeah, bro really hit the exit Osu speedrun world record. Not gonna lie though, that was probably the most frustrating day I'd had so far, and I was feeling really demotivated, so I just took a break. Originally it was just gonna be for a few days, but actually ended up being a whole week before I got back to grinding. Although as you might expect, not having played in so long meant I was pretty rusty, and it took a few days before I was able to start getting good runs again, so I'm just gonna group days 6 through 9 together. On days 6 and 7, nothing really happened and I was playing pretty terribly, but finally on day 8, I was back to getting some good runs, but what could have been the final day ended up just being another unfortunate session where I had some really dumb misses. Bro. I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm the closest I've ever been to giving up on this stupid map, bro. My motivation was at an all-time low at this point, and I genuinely considered giving up, so much so that on day 9 I didn't even play Osu at all. But having come this far just to quit felt like a huge waste, and I knew that if I just got one lucky run, it would all be over. So begrudgingly, I came back for one last session on day 10, deciding that it was now or never, and it seemed like that last bit of determination was all I needed, because just 15 minutes into my session, this happened.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so happy. I didn't think I'd be this happy. Oh my god, bro. I'm done. I'm done. I'm finally done, dude. This sucked. I hated this. Can I just say that, bro? Like, fuck this map. Top 50. Let's go, dude. My axe sucks, but I don't care. I actually have the worst hit back on the whole map. That's so embarrassing. Oh my god. I don't even care, though. I don't even care, man. Let's go, man. Let's go.
In total, I'm pretty sure I spent more than 13 hours playing this map, which in hindsight is pretty unbelievable and embarrassing, especially when you factor in how I almost Fc'd it all the way back on day 2. I want to make it clear that I don't actually hate this map or anything though, I honestly think it's pretty cool. My experience with it just wasn't ideal. That concludes my journey to FC the hardest 4-star map in Osu though. Then again, I'm sure people will disagree and say there's harder maps in the star range, and maybe there are, I don't know. There's like, what, hundreds of thousands of maps? I'm not gonna play all of them to find out, okay? But I do think I'd be hard pressed to find a 4-star map without mods that takes me more than 13 hours to FC. With that said though, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and hopefully see you next time.